Most of us who are playing video games in 2017 were introduced to this magical world of pixels and lights in the 90s to the early 2000s. We navigated our way through the 2000s into the 2010s, and now we're all close to 30, some of us a little bit younger, some of us a little bit older. We have the money and the resources to go back to those greater times as the world looks bleak and troublesome, back to the days of scrunchies and pogs and Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card games, which I was not very good at, and also back to the days of games that were simpler in a lot of different ways. The Crash Bandicoots, the Banjo-Kazooies, the Spyros, the original Zeldas. As a result, we see in 2017 the need for these 90s remakes to be brought to this new realm, either because perhaps you want to introduce it to entire new demographics, our children or different family members, or because we, like I said, yearn for those days of yesteryear. I'm Andy Borkowski. I'm joined this week by Mr. Anton Mackaday. Give your full name on this one because I thought it was important. There we go.
Why?
Because I don't know, just in case someone wants to find you. And Mr. Travis Hyatt, who's new to the wheel here. He's kind of our nostalgia head, so we brought him on to be a nice little counterpoint to Anton. And don't they look different? That's why we have them here too. Anyway, so our thesis this week, that was a good look, guys. No more 90s nostalgia remake games. Boom, I said it.
Good.
Okay, we're done. All right, folks, dialogue wheel. No, let's dive in. So this was all really trumpeted because in the last week, we had one of the biggest releases of any of the remakes, the new release of Crash Bandicoot and the 3 games that came with it, Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Warped, or whatever it is exactly. I've had a lot of time to play it. I went through. Have you guys tried it at all?
Nope.
I did play a bit of it last night, actually.
Oh, okay. So what was your feeling? Because I know you didn't have a chance to play the original, so you're coming at it from a very different perspective.
I got to the first 3 levels, but I think the point that we're trying to clarify here is the one level that everybody is losing their shit over, the high road, or as my friends like to call it, Turtles, the level, because that's one of the problems with it. The takeaway that I got from it is that because they sort of had to rebuild everything from the ground up, but not accommodate for the level design, basically everything's rounded down. That's the issue with it. And because of that, it's making what already seemed like a difficult game even less, more unnecessarily difficult. I'm trying to friggin' for the wrong reasons, basically.
Okay, so you think it's just they're trying to make it harder than it is because...
Well, it's a broken game.
Well, that's interesting because this is one of the most... We look at Crash Bandicoot, the first one.
Yeah.
One of the most, I would say, in some ways primitive, but also foundational platformers ever made. You know, this is when they figured out how to platform from the Super Mario days going into the version of 3D. It was an important game. Polygon had a pretty interesting article because a lot of people are playing these games, me included, and starting to realize these are really damn hard. Like, not fun hard. I'm getting game over every few minutes kind of hard, throwing the controller away. How did my 8-year-old self ever beat this sort of thing? I realized my 8-year-old self could handle pressure a lot better than 29-year-old Andy. But the other thing that I noticed from this article that really dived into it, there's a theory that when they did bring this into 2017 and added the new mechanics and new physics and new textures, the way they did that kind of took away from the imprecision that was allowed in the first game. So because it was a game that didn't require you to be exactly on point, because you couldn't exactly see what on point was, it was a little bit easier. And some have even theorized that the models for Crash and Coco, his sister, themselves have tighter collision boxes. So the shape is kind of the default for the Unity engine when this is made in. So rather than things falling off, it slides off you a little bit, which if you're in a platformer where it's about a one-to-one connection, that's a big deal. So overall, there's some problems. This is an example of a game that did have some problems that increased the difficulty. Some people liked it. I still enjoyed it, but I realized I really liked it only because I wanted to see that Bandicoot's face. And I wanted to get the Budamaka, that's not how they say it, but that's how I say it. Trademark TM Andy Borkowski. The Budamaka little masks with it. So that was my nostalgia, and I liked it for that reason. Ultimately, though, when game development studios are putting all of these resources to bring games back to the brink that were kind of primitive to begin with and don't really work when they have the 2017 gloss. Anton, you were coming up negative on this one. You know, where do you see the dice lie? Because overall, Crash is like we said, Travis. It tries to remake the game, and it does, but it makes it so much more difficult that even the nostalgia kind of isn't worth it.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I like Crash Bandicoot, and I am a 90s kid, born in 1990s, so, like, I grew up with all of that shit. Mm-hmm. My issue is that I'm just tired of remasters of old games. Yeah. Like, I'm tired of, like, things like this where Crash Bandicoot comes back. And we've had good ones in the past where Ocarina of Time they've brought back to the 3DS in, like, 2008, 2007, Majora's Mask. And they're good remakes. But I'm just tired of wasted resources on something that people didn't necessarily ask for. Yeah. Like, I know people have asked for Crash Bandicoot back. Fine. Make a brand new game. A brand new engine. Don't give me the same levels. Don't give me the same bullshit that you gave me before, because at that point it really just seems like kind of like a money grab.
Well, I think that it wouldn't work. There's a game that tried to do that, Yooka-Laylee, that essentially said, you know what? We're not going to rebuild the old nostalgia stuff. We're just going to rebuild the nostalgia you had of playing with these mechanics. Yeah. And there are some problems with that game, but I don't think we play these 90s games because we want to jump again. I think we play it because we want to see a Bandicoot. We want to get a similar feeling to what that jump was like in 1997.
Oh, that's such a tough thing to
it's for you. It's a personal thing.
Yeah, so it's a tough thing to recreate because, like, when I play Ocarina of Time or back in the day, I had these very, like, you know, intense feelings of, like, triumph and, like, heartache when Ganon would come and beat me down for, like, the fifth time. Good Lord,
it was tough.
It's a rough time, but now that I'm older, like, I'm not as emotionally, I guess, how do I put it?
You're a cold son of a bitch.
Basically, like, I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't care when I die in a game. I just move on with my life. Yeah. So now those feelings aren't the same, and when they bring back older games that did kind of incite those feelings, it's once again not the same. I don't really care.
I mean, it's such a hard point to come to because, like,
but you love these games. Like, you're a Sonic head. You're excited about all this. So what you would not want to see? You are on the other side of this thesis. You would not want to see the remakes go away.
I think as long as it does something that differs from the original, it's warranted. And as long as people actually want it, for starters. Like,
I don't think they're going to do it unless people want it. So
no. I think people have been asking for Final Fantasy VII HD something for years now, and now that it's being completely rebuilt from the ground up, it's something entirely different. It's almost not even a remake.
See, and that's a good way to do it.
I'm worried it's too much like what they're doing with Crash, because they are remaking it with Final Fantasy VII, but you will be following similar storylines, in my understanding. It's not a completely new story.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, you know, don't give me just...
Are you giving thumbs up or thumbs down on what we know for Final Fantasy VII?
I'm thumbs up, except for the fact that it's episodic.
That doesn't work for anything.
Well, that's what I think a real remake ought to do, is to try... do away with the shit that didn't work and actually make it the definitive release of that game.
Okay,
that's what people are going to want to go to. Like, if you went to Ocarina of Time 3D, for example, one of the best things about that game was actually the gyroscope and the aiming mechanics, because on the N64 you can't do shit with it. But with the gyroscope, everything's a lot more precise. The fact that the game just looks prettier as a whole and isn't all, angular and junky and shit is a plus. But again, little increments like that make it the definitive way to do it. That's when I think remakes are warranted. Mm-hmm. When it's not is when it's some lazily hashed together HD remaster of some PlayStation 2 trilogy.
You're not, but what about, are you on the definitive editions? I like those. Like a PS3 game that needs to be on the PS4?
No. Because I can just play it on PS3.
Exactly. But those are a lot of the games like you missed, so to speak. I think they're a bit of a different category.
If I wanted to go back
Let me get to what you're saying there, because I think it's a very interesting point. Your perfect version of a remake of a game would be one that drops some of the mechanics or maybe levels that really didn't work for that generation, but pretty much everything is going to be the same, right? That's what you want?
Yeah, because while it's a remake, it's also a nostalgia trip.
It is, but Anton, that's kind of what you were fighting against, because we want new resources to new things.
So thinking about it, it's like, I don't mind if you keep the original storyline. Once again, going back to like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII is essentially keeping the original storyline. They're keeping the cross-dressing scene. They're keeping a lot of things.
Thank the Lord.
They're keeping a lot of things that people love from Final Fantasy VII, but they're doing a whole entire new makeover. They're dropping the old engine. They're giving us a new combat system. Yeah. They're giving us a new graphical system. Like, that is a way to do a remake that won't piss me off.
But the idea, like, if Final Fantasy is the example, I would prefer we get Cloud, Sephiroth there, but it's a completely new take on it. Like, I want, because they were talking about it might be from different perspectives of different characters. Like, that would be a remake to me. I would have loved for Crash if you played as like Cortex or something like that. Like, honestly, if
that's not Crash, it's a different game.
Yeah.
I know, but it's within the mythos of it. Who's the bad guy in Sonic?
Dr. Robotnik.
So you should play as Dr. Robotnik.
No.
See, that's what I mean. People wouldn't necessarily. I still think it divides the gap between the two groups of people. One that don't want games that are just old games remade, and others that really do want the nostalgia. Because you'll still get the nostalgia of these characters, but it would be different enough that artists could actually make something new and maybe traverse new ground. No, you're not buying this from the bad guy perspective thing?
No. Like,
this is an Andy Borkowski exclusive? All right.
I like the idea of having a bad guy exclusive, because I like watching movies. I like seeing different things where it's like, you know what, this guy isn't just the conventional hero. Yeah. Like, he is a piece of shit, and it's nice to see his perspective.
Sonic, that piece of shit.
But at the end of the day, as much as like I am a fan of, you know, potentially just trashing systems and keeping original storylines, at the end of the day, I would much rather give up every single remake and remaster for brand new IPs.
Okay,
I want to be.
Let's you say that. Hit us with that again. Hit us with that again.
So
that's an important one.
I am more
if
than,
you can remember it.
I am more than willing to give up all of our old school remakes of like Crash Bandicoot or like the 7 remakes of Final Fantasy 7 for brand new IPs and being more. Giving more progress to, you know, bringing new IPs into the world.
There are different types of gamers, though, because Travis, you are the kind of gamer that harkens for that nostalgia.
Yeah,
like you love Nintendo, you want some DK, you want some Sonic, you love those characters.
Let me ask this to Travis before he speaks.
Oh,
did you play Shovel Knight?
No, actually, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
See,
well,
that's interesting.
There's a problem, because Shovel Knight is a game that kind of gives off the feel of nostalgia, but it's a brand new IP. Like, there is potential to give you those games that have a very old school feel to it.
That's such a hard line to cross. Like, that's, or to balance.
Yeah, but look at Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight was fantastic.
No, I know it's an amazing game, but like, if Travis didn't even know about it and play it, like, that's what I mean. It's a hard game to get into the hands of the people that need to play it.
Yeah, but
you and I will play it, we'll like it. But Travis is the one who needs to, so he can get a Shovel Knight T-shirt and throw away all his old Mario ones.
Yeah, but Travis only watches Smash Brothers videos.
First of all, asshat, I can go back to Mario any day I want. Shovel Knight is entirely its own thing, even if it is a throwback to those 8-bit platformers.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's as fun to play like Super Mario World again, to plug in my Super Nintendo, because that was a game I grew up on and absolutely loved. I don't know if I want to play that same thing or play parts of it in a remake or play something new that reminds me of it. Because there's a lot of resources to put towards, like getting a Super Nintendo and putting all like that's a lot of ask for a person to deal with.
It depends.
There's like 7 stores around here, by the way. That
they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
It'll depend on the game, of course. Also, you can get Super Mario World on fucking anything nowadays, so I don't even know what you're talking about there. But it depends. But
then it's not real. Then
it depends.
You know, that's the whole point. It's a remake then at that point.
It depends on how much was really much of a sour spot that really needs to be improved on if there was a reimagining of it. I'm not going to act like Super Mario World was the most perfect game imaginable, but there was so much good about it. you don't even have to look back on it and say, yeah, but they could have done so and so better.
So you would just want that
It just
accessible
depends
right now.
Exactly. It just depends
That's
on
interesting,
what's
'cause
there.
I'm such an opposite gamer, and I understand that's a big proponent of the gaming community that loves nostalgia, that wants those gold cartridges. But I kind of like you, Anton. I would give that all up in a second. I would never. Mario's name will never be spoken again if I can get Horizon Zero Dawn 2 like a year earlier.
Wow, I don't know about that.
Do you know how many people?
Mario's dead.
Why do you keep digging your own grave every time I come in here?
It's the same deal where I'm willing to, because like there's new Mario games coming out, like Mario Odyssey.
Okay,
like
fair.
that's not a
That's
remake.
not nostalgia either.
Yeah, that's not nostalgia. That's not a remake.
That's a fever dream of some crazy Japanese folk.
And it looks incredible.
It looks fantastic.
It does look incredible.
So when you try to do something new with old characters, that's fine. It's just going back to it. I'm willing to give up Pokemon Gold, Silver remakes. I'm willing to give up all of that. Just give me something along the line. Give me something along the lines of like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you're creating a brand new world, you're creating brand new characters, you're creating a storyline that is engaging and like engrosses me in it. I want that because.
So
Okay, let me ask you this
go
then.
ahead.
This isn't on the same levels as Horizon Zero Dawn, so I apologize there. But what if?
What if Sonic?
Go ahead.
That is my point, though. That's the sad part. Because Mania does come out, and even though it is a reimagining of all 1, 2, and 3, there's components of it. It's still its own thing. It's still a new game.
So the question
There's
to
still
Anton
new
is what?
components.
The question
in it.
is, Anton, to what?
Would you be willing to pay for new games like that still have retro components to it, but also have that new element that makes it its own identity? Not a remake, but something like that.
That's kind of the best of it when you think of it. Like it's
a tough thing to do.
And people are still shitting on Sonic.
Because it's Sonic.
I know.
To be fair, like
Sonic Underground.
It's a good idea to do something like that.
If you're going to do a remake, that's maybe what you do.
Yeah, that's maybe what you do. But I'm not a Sonic fan. I don't want to go fast. I don't like blue things. Like,
all right, that's fair.
So where do you let's give our final thoughts on this. No more 90s nostalgia remake games. Anton, where do you come on the side of this this mighty saber that's cut the VGS crew apart?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm giving it all up for brand new IPs. Give me IPs.
Give me IPs.
Give me new shit.
I want new shit. Goodbye. You might never see Pikachu will never grace you again.
No, he will. He'll just come in a brand new Pokemon game.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, that's true. Like when it comes the new IPs or even new stories with old IPs, I'm down with too.
Yeah,
like
that's perfectly fine. I just don't want remakes anymore. I'm tired of it.
Okay, we got one hell no. Travis, you've been our kind of heart and soul here.
I will go back to the Rareware days, the PS1 fighting game days, as long as they update it and it feels warranted, not just because it's a cash grab, but because the developers wanted to go back to and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we could have done this better.
Hashtag Power Stone.
There you go.
Yeah, very well said. And then finally, I think my favorite remakes are the ones that take the brands that worked and build new stories. I'm talking about Beyond Good and Evil. I want to see another one with like Jade Empire. You can bring in those same characters, bring in that same world, but I don't want to play after playing how much fun I did have with Crash Bandicoots. I don't want to play Spyro, believe it or not.
I will, just because it was the better game.
Oh, shit. We leave you with a final.
This is the outro theme.
This is the outro for Dialogue Wheel.
Copyright.
Copyright CM. CP. Dialogue Wheel.
Might solve a mystery.